We're back, Jen and me, mostly Jen. I'm nothing. I'm here to ask questions and get help. So Jen is a therapist. Tell me a little bit your background, just really quick.
Yeah. So 20 plus years as a clinical psychologist, first in the military, now in private practice. I have a virtual practice where I can see patients in most states of the United States. Written a couple of books, working on a couple more. I have a podcast. Love teaching and lecturing. Just did a marriage seminar since we last talked, and it was a hoot. We had so much fun.
Yep.
The first book is Fix Your Freaking Marriage, Practical Tips to Just Start Somewhere. And that's on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com. So that started out as a goal of 20,000 words for a self-help book, ended in a 76,000 word passion project. So I loved writing that and took 20 plus years of experience and 20 plus years of being married, and put that into the book. And that's what you get when you pick up the book.
I love it. I have not read the whole thing. I've read quite a bit of it, and I have read the chapter on forgiveness, chapter 4, at least
Hmm.
3 times, I think. And I've really dug
Wonderful.
into it. I have highlighted it. It's beautiful. And that's what we're going to focus on today
Excellent.
is forgiveness. And
Hmm.
you have a quote from Pastor Greg Rolling. I'm messing up his name.
Rollinger.
Rollinger,
Yep.
that forgiveness is the real F word.
Yes.
Um, what does that mean to you? Why is forgiveness so hard?
So when Greg did that, it was a message that he gave on a Sunday, and when he did that, it was this acknowledgement of what we all kind of know to be true, which is forgiveness is really effing hard to do, right? So
Yeah,
he called it the real F word, knowing that it's just such a challenge to overcome past hurts.
yeah, yeah. I'm like reflecting on my life right now, and I'm trying to think of an example of like current where forgiveness is an issue for me. I see a lot in my past, and I see a lot of my healing has been time. Time has healed it, and I've grown up a little bit. I have not stopped thinking about your comments on maturity and immaturity since we last met. I have brought it up in so many conversations, and you believe a lot of times when people struggle in a marriage, it's immaturity. That
Absolutely.
either one or both parties are immature, and a lot of times it's both.
Yeah.
Because even if you are the mature one, it's easy to lower to the other person's level of maturity
Hmm.
in scenarios. So I kind of think forgiveness, um, the ability to forgive, is a sign of maturity.
Absolutely.
Um, so I think it's been easier for me to forgive over the years, being older, kind of looking back. I want to jump into you talk about an article in 2008 Red Book.
Yes, the old Red Book magazine.
Yes, I loved this. There's a 4-step process
Hmm.
to forgiving your spouse. It's by Amelia Farquhar.
Hmm.
But the steps are to acknowledge your pain, admit that you're hurt, decide you're ready to let go is number 2. Um, reframe the story is number 3 to try to see that it from the other person's lens. And then number 4 is to reflect to find the silver lining. So, like, what did I learn?
Hmm.
Did I go stronger? Am I more compassionate? Did I grow up?
Hmm.
And I think that's a sign of maturity is being able to reflect and look at the silver lining and kind
Hmm.
of step outside of like you and yourself and your pain.
Yeah.
But I like the reframe the story, the number 3. My daughter once, when this was, gosh, about 5 years ago, but my husband and I got in this really big argument and kind of loud and in front of the kids. I remember we were in Flagstaff at our house and we were like going back and forth, and neither one could see the other person's point of view. And my daughter held up a plate and she said, "Do you both see a plate?" And we're like, and seriously, Jen, she was like in 5th grade or younger, maybe. She held up this plate and she was like, "Do you both see a plate?" And we're like, "Yes." And she's like, "Mom's side sees this. Dad sees this." Like you're seeing the same
Oh my.
plate, but you're seeing two different sides of it. And I just reminded my daughter of this recently, and she's like, I did that. I'm like, yes. Sometimes I feel like you were more mature, are more mature than me. Like, and being an outsider, you can see it
Sure.
more
Yeah.
differently.
Go London. That's beautiful.
I know. I think she learned that at Odyssey. I think one of her teachers in the elementary school taught her
Yeah.
that. But I don't know. Let's dive into that. Forgiving your spouse.
Sure. Yeah. So the step three of reframing the story is honestly a large part of the catalyst for book number three. I'm losing
Okay.
track. I like to work on multiple books at one time because I'm
Okay.
a glutton for punishment, I guess. But the book that's about to come out, I'm just finalizing the cover. Super excited about it. It's called Betrayal Breakthrough: Transforming Pain into Power. And
Okay.
so the way we transform pain into power is when we can do like what London suggested, where you take a different perspective on the situation and you
Yeah.
really look at, okay, what can I learn from this? And so in the upcoming book, I talk about this will really drive it home, I think. So I'll give you this example. But when I was 20 something, I did a practicum at the VA in Waco, Texas,
Okay.
and in their psychology department, of course. And so one of my opportunities was to sit in on a Vietnam veterans group. Now I'm
Okay.
in my 20s. This is in the early 2000s.
Okay.
So Vietnam, many, many years before that, decades before that. And there was this gentleman in there, and he was talking about a harrowing, horrifying experience that he had in Vietnam. Vietnam was a disaster.
Mhm.
But he was talking about this experience, and I made a comment.
Okay.
And here I am, this, young blonde female, right? What could I possibly know, of course, to this gentleman? And he was like, you couldn't possibly understand what. Just stop talking. Like he was snarky, and I'm being nice, but I stopped him and I said, hold on a second. I said, let me ask you this. I said, if I told you, heaven forbid, that my family member was in a tragic car accident and died, I said, have you ever lost a family member to a tragic car accident? No, thankfully he hadn't. And I said, but can you imagine how I might feel? And he's like, well, yeah, it's sad and it's terrible. It's awful and it's devastating. And whose fault is it? And like, he went through all the mental gymnastics. And I said, exactly. I said, so
Mhm.
I don't have to have walked through the Republic of Vietnam back
Right.
then with you to understand that basic human emotions are universal.
Mhm.
Mad, sad, glad, afraid. That's probably a whole podcast unto itself because
Okay.
mad is actually a secondary emotion, which is what I was getting from him.
Okay.
Mad, sad, glad, afraid.
Okay.
And so we were able to connect in that way. And then,
Yeah.
he kept on going and we worked on it. But it really struck me like, here's this guy decades later holding on to this experience. And I mean, pardon my expression, but who the hell wants to live that way? That
Yeah.
sounds awful. No,
Yeah.
thank you. Hard pass. Please drive through. Right. So that was really impactful for me. I mean, I believe everything for a reason. So I feel like that was part of God shining a light on work that I'm going to do on forgiveness myself and professionally. And then it actually, that example is in the betrayal book that's coming out. So it was powerful. And
I
I
love
think that's just it. Like you have a choice to live in unforgiveness. And unfortunately, when you do that, you're allowing the offender to
Mhm.
remain in control of your emotions.
Right.
And
Right.
no, thank you. Got a
Right.
lot. Yeah.
Right. I know. There's a quote you have in your book that says to forgive is to set a prisoner free and then discover that that prisoner was you.
Yes.
Like when you hold on to that, that only hurts you. Um,
Yeah.
does it, I mean, is it true that holding on to unforgiveness can make you sick, physically sick? Can it?
Yes. Actually, there's research behind that, that it people who live in unforgiveness experience more mental health issues, depression, anxiety, and more physical health issues, usually related to the heart, which is not a surprise because there's a thing, there's such a thing as a broken heart, and then there's such a thing as a broken heart, right?
Mhm.
So your heart physically breaks sometimes and stops working. But when you carry a lot of emotional pain in the heart and in the chest,
Mhm.
then it causes ailments of the heart and lungs.
Mhm.
There's, I mean, there are countless studies about this, but yeah, it will make you physically ill.
Nobody wants that. Well, maybe some people do. I think it's so interesting to want to hold on to it.
Which is a really good point, and I think it's important to unpack that. Like, what everything we do is done because we get something out of it. I don't actually believe in altruism. Something comes out of everything we do, right? So even if I do something nice, let's say I donate to a charity. Okay, well, even if it's an anonymous donation, they have no idea who did it. It still feels good to me, right? Like,
Yeah.
thank you, Lord, that you blessed me with the resources that I could share these with another person who's going through a hard time,
Mhm.
right? That just feels good to me. Like, I'm going to go to bed at night and just feel good about that. Even if nobody else even knows about it, it just feels good.
Yeah.
So I think we get something out of everything we do. So
Yeah.
when we live in unforgiveness or anger or sadness or whatever, it's a safe space. That's what we convince ourselves of in our minds. It's actually a terribly unsafe space, but it feels safe. So one of the things that I hear a lot is, okay, if I forgive this person, I'm afraid that I'm opening myself up to being hurt by them again.
Right. Mhm.
Well, if you stop and think, I mean, I get that emotionally, I can feel that in my heart. But if you stop and think about that, it's really ridiculous.
Right.
Because, first of all, the person that we're talking about forgiving may not know or care that they may need your forgiveness. This morning, I was talking to someone who the person who she had forgiven is actually, he actually died a week ago. And so she was like, I was like, listen, you can forgive him, you can forgive yourself, because she had some stuff tangled up in that. And the other person may not even know or care that they need your forgiveness. So for you to think that living in unforgiveness keeps them from hurting you again, or extrapolate, keeps someone else from hurting you again, that's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous.
Okay. Yes. So a couple things. Um, One is I was hurt by someone who worked for me. And she wrote a nasty email to me toward the end of our professional relationship. I had to let her go. And I read that email once. Jen, I read that email twice. And my husband calls this like emotional masturbation. Like it feels good. Like you were saying, you're getting something out of reading it and rereading it and stewing over it. After the third time I read it, I was like, you know what? I'm going to allow myself to read this one more time, maybe the fourth time. And then I archive the email because I actually might need it in case, like for legal reasons, if I ever had to come back to it.
I know.
Um, but I was like, I'm not going to sit in this and get this, whatever this is out of it. This, like, oh, I'm so hurt. Oh, this person did me dirty, whatever. But I think it does feel good sometimes to sit in that unforgiveness and like remember how awful they were to you, or you reread the text, or you think through a conversation or something that someone told you. For whatever reason, that feels good to be the victim for a minute. But then are you going to stay there and be an immature person and not
Right.
forgive them and not move on? Like for me, I'm like, I cannot be a business owner or a professional or a Christian if I sit in this and don't live in forgiveness in this. I need to move on.
Right. That's exactly it. It's reaching that, excuse me, reaching that point where you say, okay, and I'm done with this.
Yeah.
And it is finished, as Christ
Yeah.
said. Like, it is
Yeah.
finished, it is done.
Finished. Yeah. Um, I think it's harder to forgive, Jen, when it's the person that sleeps in bed with you,
Ugh,
the person that you raise children with, the person that you're supposed to be protected by, or you are supposed to be protecting or loving or cherishing.
mhm.
Sometimes I think it's the hardest to forgive that person.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of times, John and I were just talking about this morning, it's sometimes it's the same thing that you do that hurts that person or that they do to you to hurt you.
Yeah.
So, there's a whole thing in that of like, if you're continuing to do the same thing to hurt them, you need to change that. But how
Right.
do you forgive your spouse?
So I think it's probably the most important thing that you can do if you want your marriage to work and we're trying to grow and learn and evolve, which I
Yeah.
think we should be doing until we die, married or not. Um, but by the time couples come to me, there's a lot of water under that bridge, right? They're not
Yeah.
coming to me
Yeah.
because they've been married for 2 weeks or
Right.
2 months
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
even 2 years. A lot of times I see them well into the marriage.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of water under the bridge. There's a lot of hurt. There's some resentment. Maybe it's morphing into bitterness, which is the death knell for any relationship. And
Yeah.
so we have to unpack that. And a lot of times it's one spouse is feels like the other one is holding on to it. And they're like, I wish they could just let it go. A lot of
Mhm.
times women, because we are more emotional creatures and we speak twice as many words as men on a given day, we tend to sit more in emotionality and our thoughts. So a
Okay.
lot of times we will hang on to things, and a lot of times we have better memories than men.
Mm,
And
okay.
so we will hold on to things and longer than maybe our husbands want us to. Now, sometimes it's the other way around.
Yeah.
um, and then when it comes to infidelity, it's, that's maybe equal. I don't know. But the the idea there is, okay, if I want this relationship to work, I've
Mhm.
got to figure a way to get beyond this. It's not get over it because you can't forget that your spouse
Yeah.
betrayed you. Now, some of the small offenses or insults, maybe you've been able to forget those, hopefully, right? But
Yeah.
big stuff, or if it's recurring, like
Yeah.
you keep doing this, or you do this and you say you're sorry, but then you keep doing it. You're not really sorry.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. That's the thing about forgiveness. It doesn't hinge on the other person's apology. But think about it. Closure, when it comes to betrayal and forgiving and all of this stuff, closure is an inside job. We
Mhm.
think closure is an outside job, like the person needs to apologize, they need to show remorse, they need to change their behavior. No, they don't.
Yeah.
First of all, you don't have any control over that.
No, not at all.
Secondly, they don't. You have to give yourself the closure. And I unpack this in the betrayal book, but I'll give you the Reader's Digest version, so to speak. So what that is you give yourself closure any way you look at this. So even if let's say you offend me or hurt me in some way, and then you come back and you're like, Jen, I'm so sorry, I was having a bad day, I got this
Yeah.
stuff going on, I am so sorry, friend, I did not mean to do that to you, how can I make it up to you, or I will never do that again, or can we talk for a minute about that, whatever. And you apologize and it is sincere and I can tell, and we're friends who love each other and we're going to move forward.
Mhm.
Even in that moment where you've rendered an apology that's incredibly sincere, I still have to decide if that's good enough for myself.
Yeah.
I still have to decide, can I give closure to this and Kelly and I can move forward? Or am I like, I don't know, sis. I don't really think you mean it. We should talk about this because I think you're going to do it again, right? Whatever it is, I have to decide at that moment that whatever you've done is good enough, in my opinion. So I'm giving myself closure any way you look at it.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't hinge on an apology because, again, some of the people that we should forgive are long gone out of our lives.
Yeah. Or someone who won't speak to us or refuses to have a conversation, refuse to be in a relationship, and you can still forgive them.
Or we don't even want to talk to them, honestly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they might even want to apologize, but we just don't want anything to do with them because it's just too painful. I mean, I've had to sever relationships like that. So, I mean, you give yourself closure is an inside job. That's the takeaway.
Okay. Okay. I like that. That's a good takeaway. Um, how do you walk in forgiveness in a relationship and let your walls down? Like sometimes the relationship is just, it's no more. You've forgiven, you have the closure, you have the inside job that you've done. What if it's the marriage and it can't just be an inside job where you're like, I forgive them and I'm living on an island and we are living separate lives to cope?
Yeah.
How do you let your own walls down? How do you, I mean, you can't control your spouse,
Right.
but what if, I feel like I have seen walls go up around me in relationships, and not always with spouses, but like siblings, parents, friendships. Can we let
So
the walls down and our guard down?
it's a choice. It's absolutely a choice, just like forgiveness. So it depends, right? The nice political diplomatic answer is it depends. Because in certain situations, so like let me talk about the impetus for the betrayal book was a professional betrayal that I
Okay.
experienced earlier this year. And it wasn't the first one, it won't be the last. But it takes a lot to shock me nowadays because I've been a psychologist for over 20 years. But I will tell you, I was surprised by this. I was
Okay.
surprised. This
Okay.
person was, I mean, we had this great relationship. We shared a business. We didn't share, but we were both in the same side hustle, basically.
Okay.
And so this betrayal happened, and I was like, blah. And I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do with this? Like, okay, I decided early on I need to walk through this and get through it. And 20 something thousand words later, I've got a book. But there's the other piece of what about this relationship? So that's a whole separate decision. What am I going to do about this relationship? Well, she and I don't speak anymore.
Mhm.
She like unfollowed me on Facebook, did all the things because she didn't want to hear from me or whatever, even though she was the offender. Fine, whatever. So I just decided like I'm not going to allow that to control or dictate me, and I'm not going to be in relationship with her again because I can't trust her. That's the bottom
Okay.
line.
Okay.
So I'm going to keep a wall up with that person,
Okay.
and I'm not going to be vulnerable with her again. If I
Okay.
see her at convention, I will say hi. I will be a decent human Christian person and say hey and smile and nod or whatever, but I'm going on about my business. I don't have
Okay.
any interest in interacting with her. Now, if
Okay.
she, I don't see this happening, but if she were to, be like, hey, I want to talk to you. I'm so sorry. I was just in a bad way and blah, blah, blah. I'll listen to her, but
Mhm.
I already decided to forgive her a long time ago because I'm not going to let her control my feelings anymore.
Okay.
So that wall is up with her, and it probably won't come down, and that's okay. I'm not going to be ugly to her. I'm not going to snub her if I see her in public. Like,
Yeah.
it is what it is. Now, with a spouse,
Yeah.
it's trickier. So because again,
Ah,
this person, you share a bed with this person and a house and a life and kids and all the things. So this is where it depends really matters, because if this is something your spouse keeps hurting you and is showing no inclination to change, take ownership, maybe they're a narcissist, maybe they're chronically unfaithful, or maybe they're abusing substances and not willing to quit doing that, if it's just this repeated thing, well, then I think it's time to call in help, because
yeah.
you can't change them, but
Right.
you can change you, and you can take away their ammunition against you. And then you just pray that it forces them to look at themselves.
Yeah.
Now, by the same token, I've seen people with, gambling addictions, they lose their house, they lose their family, they keep on gambling. They are just not willing to give it up. It's an addiction, and it's a compulsive behavior they're not willing to give up. So it depends
Mhm.
on the situation, depends on how egregious the offense is, it depends on the frequency of the offense. But if it's a relationship, if it's a marriage that you want to have continue, then I
Mhm.
think it's, if it's a repeated thing that keeps happening, then we have a heart to heart and we talk about, why does this keep happening? Now,
Right.
I can tell you, it doesn't even matter what issue we're discussing. The reason it keeps happening is because of immaturity. And
Mm.
so whether that's, we all bring baggage to the table when we get married. Everybody has their
Yeah.
baggage, whether that's a rollerboard or a cargo ship, like we all have our baggage, right? So we bring that with us wherever we go. Wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
So we have that going in the relationship. And if we keep repeating the same patterns without acknowledging how we got to that place, we're going to keep making the same mistake. So you've got to do the work to unpack the situation. Now, if your partner won't do that because therapy is for, I don't know, weak people or whatever, all the crap that people say,
Yeah.
then you work on you, you
Yeah.
change you. And what you can do is you can change how you handle
Yeah.
their continued offense.
Mhm.
If it's a divorceable offense, like, chronic abuse or, some of these things that I'm talking about, then all bets are off, get the hell out of there. But
Mhm.
if it's something where we kind of just offend each other as a couple, then it has to be dealt with. And if your partner's not willing to go to therapy or read a book with you or do a church retreat or something, then you
Mhm.
work on you and work on how you handle it. And if you can demonstrate greater maturity when that situation rears its ugly head again,
Mhm.
10 to 1, they will demonstrate a different response.
Mhm.
Maybe
Mhm.
not in the beginning because they're testing the limits because there's comfort in the discomfort zone. So they're going to
Mhm.
keep responding in the way that they historically do. But then when you don't meet them where they are, now they're like, oh, wait,
Mhm.
I don't really know what to do with this. And so
Mhm.
then that can be a springboard for things to change.
Mhm. Do you think that the way people forgive or don't forgive, they learn that as a child, from watching their parents?
I do think that is part of it. Yeah.
There is a section in your book at the beginning where it has you look at your upbringing.
Hmm.
How did your mom handle such and such? How did your
Right.
dad handle that? I
Yeah,
actually
that's the inventory, the personal inventory. Yeah.
inventory. Yes. Do you have all of your clients do the inventory?
I do it as part of the intake. So the questions that you see in the book are the questions that I'm asking them in the intake.
Okay.
And then just kind of getting an understanding of their upbringing and trying to, see why they behave the way they do. Because again, it's very difficult to rewrite your personal narrative if you don't even understand how it was constructed in the first place.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
it just feels out of control. Like, well, this is just who I am. This is just how I think. No, it doesn't have to
Right.
be that way. It can be
Right.
different.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, what's interesting, I laughed when you asked that question because when I came into marriage 20 something years ago, my family did I don't know, like did conflict in a certain way.
Yeah.
And Mark's family did conflict in a very different way.
Okay.
And neither was, flawless, of course. They both had their things. But what I learned is that I prefer to do conflict a little differently. So it's a little bit of the way my family did it, and it's a little bit of the way his family did it. And so we're not going to stay stuck in it. We're not going to hold a grudge because it's useless. It's a waste of time. But we're going to try to deal with the issue directly, head on, and we're going to move forward as quickly as possible.
Okay. I do like that. Getting from point A to point B quickly.
Hmm.
Like how, like acknowledge it, see that it's an issue, and sort through it and work through it quickly. Don't sit in it. Don't stew over it. Don't give the silent treatment.
Oh, yeah.
Don't let it fester.
Yeah, the silent treatment accomplishes absolutely nothing.
No. Yeah.
It's very common.
Yes.
But
What are the common ways of dealing with conflict? Because I feel like forgiveness and conflict, it's not the same thing, but I think some of the conflict leads to like not being able to forgive someone. But what are some of the ways people deal with conflict?
um, head in the sand.
The
So
same. Okay.
acting like everything is fine and like that big production or big to do just didn't just happen. Some people do silent treatment and they pout or they
Mhm.
scowl or they create distance or sleep in a different room or there's a
Mhm.
disconnect. Other people want to throw down and they're
Yeah,
like, right,
battle
they're
it out.
yelling and four-letter words and, whatever. And then the healthiest, most
Yeah,
mature people are going to tackle the issue head on, even if it's not right then in the heat of the moment, which isn't always
right.
the best idea anyway. We're going to take a breath. We're going to chew it over with a Twix. We're going to come back to it later, whether
Yeah,
that's 20 minutes or 20 hours. We're going to come back to it. That's when I see like recurring stuff, like where it's the same stuff, different day that keeps coming up,
yeah,
it's generally because the issue was not resolved. So
right,
they thought about it, but they didn't resolve anything. Or they said, we'll talk about it later. And then they never came back because things improved. And they're like, okay, things are going well. I don't want to rock the boat. I'm not going to bring it up. Well,
right,
that's actually one of the worst things you can do because if it's an unresolved issue, it will come up again.
right, right. And then how are you going to handle it when it comes up again for
Right.
18th millionth time,
Right.
how are you going to deal with it?
And that's the thing, is if it is a recurring issue, I feel like that's when you need to call in reinforcements. That's when you need to get a coach. That's when
Okay.
you need to get a therapist, a pastor, somebody. Think about it. Like these athletes, football, baseball, basketball, soccer, they get paid millions and millions
Yep.
of dollars, right? More money than the average person will see in a lifetime.
Right.
They have coaches.
Right.
It's not a one man or one woman show. They have coaches. So if they can get paid millions of dollars for being skilled and talented and performing well, and they still defer to a coach to help them along, why can't we?
Right. Well, especially because, me personally, I believe that my priorities are like my relation with God, my relationship with my husband, my relationship with my children and family friends, and then my country and my business.
In that order.
If
Hmm.
I truly believe that, then I should be spending a lot more time working on those priorities,
Right.
like putting
Yeah.
time into your marriage, getting a coach for it.
Hmm.
And then my relation with God, going to church, spending time in the Bible, like
Hmm.
do the disciplines that create a great life or a great relationship. It
Hmm.
doesn't just magically happen, right, Jen? Or does it? Does it
No, I
magically?
wish. I always tell people, I'm sorry, my magic wand is in the shop. Yeah,
Um,
it's broken.
I really wish that magic wand was working. That'd be really
I
nice.
know.
We could just
It's
sprinkle it all over the country.
right. It's broken from overuse.
Ah, totally. Oh my gosh. There was a quote in the book. Forgiveness doesn't change the past, but it does enlarge the future. Have you seen, I mean, I feel like you could take a couple and you could, do the book or the movie where it's like they chose one path and this is what
Oh
happened.
yeah. Choose your ending.
Yes. Or they chose this path and it was this. If we choose to stay in unforgiveness, what does that look like? That's destruction. That's disconnect. That's
It's exhausting.
exhausting. It's divorce. It's living in misery. It's
Mhm.
bickering. It's your adult children don't want to come back and see you.
Right.
It's you don't have friends anymore because nobody wants to be around a bickering couple. Or you choose to live in forgiveness and love and light. And it's a bright future.
Exactly.
Don't you think it's hard though sometimes when you're in it? It's like you and I as an outsider, we could look at anybody's marriage and be like, oh my gosh, you guys get help and forgive each other.
Yeah.
Stop being immature.
Yeah.
And it's your own life.
Yeah. When you're in the muck and the mire of it, it's hard to see the forest for the trees, which is why an outsider can be really helpful.
Oh,
You know, just like London pointed out, the two different perspectives on the same plate. Like if you're looking at the front, you're not seeing the back. If you're looking at the back, you're not seeing the front. You can't see both at the same time. And
right.
so to have somebody on the outside say, hey, here are your two perspectives. Let's find some middle ground. Let's find the gray area. Let's find a common ground, whatever, so that y'all can move forward.
Right. Yeah. Because we all want to move forward. Okay. We just have a few more minutes. There is one section in the book that talks about forgiving yourself.
Mhm.
Um,
You'll notice that one has a lot more steps.
does.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I'm going to read just the quick points. There are 7.
Mhm.
Okay. The first thing is to explore your guilt. Take a look at what it's costing you to live in the guilt and unforgiveness. 2, change your self-talk. Recognize, first thing is to recognize is that you can't change what happened in the past.
Mhm.
So there's no sense in hanging on to it. The third, don't be a control freak. I love your language, Jen. It's like so like a normal person.
Good. Thank you.
Don't be a control freak is number 3. Focus
Mhm.
on what you can control, the now, the present.
Mhm.
Number 4, cut yourself some freaking slack. So professional. I love it. This girl
Yeah.
from Texas knows how you're a straight shooter.
Yes.
Cut yourself some slack. Think about what you would say to a friend if he or she was bearing this weight and beating themselves over the head with this same guilt. I love that. And all of these have like a lot more content around them. Number 5 is move forward. Don't look back. You're not going that way.
Mhm.
Look forward. Number 6 is seek to understand. Everything bad that happens to us can be a growth opportunity. And then number 7 is find the lesson. Ask yourself, what did I learn? What did I grow? What are the takeaways? Kind of like this, that forgiving your spouse. The step 4
Mhm.
was find the silver lining, find the lesson,
Right.
see the growth. I remember my friend Esther and I would talk about things, and her and I kept coming back to the same things. Like her and I had different issues that we dealt with. And I remember saying to her, like, I was in my early 30s, and I'm like, am I going to still be dealing with this when I'm in my 40s? And I remember talking to her a couple of years ago and telling her, like, I'm not dealing with this anymore. I grew up.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. I grew up. I've been broken free. Um, but I think the forgiveness, Jen, and learning how to do it, and then the like having a good marriage and learning how to do it is being mature because
Mhm.
everyone has different issues in all of it.
Yeah.
But I think having the maturity to say, you know what, I can follow the 4-step process in forgiving my spouse, and I can do it over and over again,
Mhm.
and I can be mature about it. And I can be in a good relationship because I can be mature and look at things like an adult.
Right. And I think seeing it as a growth opportunity, right? So, like, if you're, again, if your spouse keeps offending in the same way, and for whatever reason, their own immaturity is keeping them from being willing to work on it or even acknowledging that they have a problem, um, if you work on you and, like I said, you approach the situation differently, you might see that that begets a different response from them. I've seen it countless times because people are like, I can't change him or her. No, you can't. You can change how you handle the situation, though,
Yeah.
and you can pray that they will come alongside. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but you can still work on you. That's why I said last time, marriage therapy is just two people working on themselves together.
Mhm.
So simultaneously, um, so just looking at it as an opportunity, like it's a challenge, right?
Right.
Like, let me see if I can do something different. So my spouse and I argue about this same issue, or I feel like he keeps offending me in the same way. What am I doing in that moment? Not that his offense is okay or not, like that's a whole separate discussion. But if I want to stay in this marriage, what do I, what can I do differently, if anything, when this happens? When he does this thing that drives me bonkers, what can I do differently? Like you have a choice at that moment for how
Right.
you want to handle the situation.
Yeah.
And it is a growth opportunity if you let it be.
Right. I want to grow personally.
Right. Grow, change, evolve until we die.
Thank you so much. So
My
I had
pleasure.
some friends listen to the first podcast we did, and they went on your website to book an appointment, and we saw that it was you see people in Zoom online. I've
Correct.
had people say, "Oh, I wish you did in person." Tell me a little bit about like what's great about Zoom and why someone should book with you via Zoom.
Well, I think it's, a number of things. First of all, it's very convenient.
Yeah.
So you don't have to, take time off work, because
Yep.
if you were coming to me for an appointment, you'd have your drive time on either end and then
Right.
the 45-minute appointment.
Right.
So, you're looking at over an hour that you have to be away from work or pay for childcare
Right.
or, you know, put
Get
shoes
showered,
on.
get
Yeah.
dressed,
Right. Yeah.
put
All those
shoes
things.
on.
Right. I mean, this is like, throw your hair in a bun and, we're off, and I don't care. Right.
Right.
So, um, I think it's just convenient. The other thing that I've seen, I when I left in person and went to virtual, thank you, COVID, I had a lot of people who were like, "This sucks. I don't want to do this. I just love to see you in person." And it's not like we didn't have these big hug sessions, or like I'm not
Right.
touching my
Yeah.
patients, so it's not like that. It's just they just wanted that. Well, now they get on, and it's just we jump right in and we're off to the races. They
Yeah.
don't even really notice that they're not in front of me,
Right.
because we're also, I mean, look, our faces are pretty close to the screen here, so we're pretty close to, seeing. This is probably closer than they would be to me in a session in my office.
Right. Right.
So
Without having to worry.
it just becomes normal. It just becomes convenient and easy, and I can hit off and I'm done and I'm moving, I'm gonna make
Right.
dinner, or do a
Right.
load of laundry, whatever. So
Right.
convenience, and then I think once people do it, they just realize it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. I also think it kind of cuts out the pleasantries and kind of the BS, the fluff. You like get down to
Yes.
business.
That's a good point. I did notice that it's just become my normal now. But back in 2021, when I started doing virtual, I noticed that it it creates a sort of distance, and people were more likely to get down to it. And then I could almost be even more direct with it. I mean, I've been a direct kind of person all my life, but I could even be more direct. And it was like we're really just get into it, like you said, not a
Yeah.
whole lot of back and forth and whatever. So it creates that sort of environment that makes things easier, I think, for a lot
Yeah.
of people. They like the distance.
Yeah. And then would if you're meeting with a couple, would the two of them be sitting together talking to you, or would they all like be in different rooms, or maybe the husband is at work or the wife is at work? What
I'm very flexible in that regard, as long as confidentiality is protected. So, what I do for couples, and I detailed my sort of process in the marriage book, but I meet with each couple member individually for a few sessions to get their full nature nurture experience. So, their
Okay.
history, their family of origin. Once we come together for conjoint sessions, they can be in the same room. I have couples who do that. I have couples who are in two different zip codes because one of them is traveling or one is working or whatever.
Okay.
And then I have people who are in the same house, but because of the intensity in their relationship, I'm seeing them from separate rooms in their house.
Okay.
So whatever works, whatever it takes, get it done.
I love it. I mean, if our entire world could really work on family and marriage, I think the world would be a way better place.
Hmm.
I think it's, so much of what our kids decide to do and who they decide to become and the habits they have is by watching us, watching how we treat other people, how we do marriage. If we can work on that, I think it will spill out. Mother Teresa, didn't she say, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family?
Oh, I love that.
That's the biggest impact we have on this earth, I think. We can run companies, we can do
Hmm.
volunteer work or whatever, but our family, that's the most intimate, impactful thing we can do
Hmm.
is our spouse, our children, our small little circle.
Well, yeah, I agree. If you look at the impact of generational trauma, where trauma is passed down through the generations, like that just keeps going until
Yeah,
somebody decides to put an end to it
yeah,
and say enough is enough, which in some family lineages, that never happens.
yeah,
It just keeps going until that family line is gone. But yeah, if we can create non-traumatic generational things that we pass down,
yeah,
that it's just it's a domino effect either way, either positively or negatively,
right.
depending on what your, the origin point.
Yeah. Well, I'm very thankful because I'm sure my mom is still listening to this, but my mom decided she was stopping some generational sin and
Wonderful.
hardship and chose a different life for my family.
Yeah.
Um, of course, we're all human. It wasn't perfect, but
Yeah.
she has made a decision to make it different. And then my dad's mom, my grandmother, decided I want something different for my family. And I think it's such a beautiful thing when someone decides. And I also believe that women can really decide. I think
Hmm.
obviously it takes two people to stay in a marriage and to work on a family.
Hmm.
But I think us as women, we really can set a tone for
That's
gender.
actually what the research bears out, is that women set the tone for the household, whether
Yeah,
we intend to or not. And that's a lot of pressure on us as
yeah,
females. But it's just that's just what the research shows, is that women, moms, wives, women tend to set the tone for the household every
mm,
day.
yeah. I want to leave us with one story. My mom and dad were married for a few years. My mom was not a Christian. My dad was. And my mom just decided after a couple of years, she was like, I don't really want to be married anymore. This is before kids. My mom, they have 5 kids now. My mom was like, I don't want to be married anymore. And my dad said to her, divorce is not an option.
Ah,
You're
I love
staying.
that.
Divorce is not an option.
Yeah.
And that has stuck with me my entire life. And if young people are listening to this, put that in the back of your mind. Divorce is not an option. I mean,
Mhm.
it is an option, of course. But I think when you go into it, like, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to give it my all.
Right.
I want to stay married. Divorce is not an option. Don't say it. Don't threaten it. Like, work on your stuff. And there may come a time where that is the only, like, you have to because of different reasons that where you have to protect yourself.
Right.
But I loved that my dad told my mom that, like, sorry, you're not leaving.
Yeah. He fought. He fought for the
He
relationship.
did. So my dad really like it did that. And I think that was my grandma speaking to him. Like
Oh,
she
yeah.
made a change, which
Yeah.
impacted my dad and then my mom. I don't know. It's just such a beautiful thing when you decide to commit and work
Yeah.
through it.
And I think a lot of that has to do with making sure you get married for the right reasons and
Yeah.
after a certain amount of time. I mean, the beginning of the marriage book details 11 reasons marriages don't work. And I
Mm,
wish that people, I wish I could get this into like the hands of the premarital counselors of the world.
yes.
Because if they can just read through the 11 reasons and make sure, okay, no, that's not it. No, it's not
Yep.
a marriage of convenience. No, we don't have booty blinders on. No,
Yep.
we don't have external pressure. Like if they can just veto all of those,
Yep.
they're on a more solid footing than it's somebody who falls prey to one of those
Yep.
11.
Oh my gosh. We could go on and on, Jen. Honestly, the 11, oh my gosh. The
Yeah.
11 aren't just bullet points. It's like a whole paragraph or more for each one. I
Yeah.
think if you haven't purchased this, my friends, please do. Jen, do you have the Audible?
Yes, it's oh no, I don't. I have the ebook and the paperback.
Okay.
I have not done the audio because I want to do it myself, and
Right.
it's 76,000 words, so
Why
it's a
don't
lot.
I come and record with you and I'll read all the quotes? Good marriage is the union
Okay.
of two good forgivers. I
Yes,
would hop in on that. Jen, I love what you're
I
doing. I
love
love
it.
the work you're doing. I love how it's inspired me and my friends that I've sent this podcast to and all the listeners. You are really making an impact. And
Thank you.
um, I'm just so thankful for you and for your wisdom and courage in doing all this. And way to be a badass boss lady. I love it.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I love it. It's a calling. So anytime we can do this as often as you want. There's always stuff to talk about.
All right. Thank you.
My pleasure.